Hey everyone, how you doing? It's your boy DJ Sterl the Pearl back with the Go In. Yeah, the podcast is here to give you information that you might not want to talk about, but you definitely think about. Also gonna have some incredible people here on the podcast with me. Got them lined up. More content coming to you, more information coming to you. Incredible information by phenomenal people, hopefully to help you with your day-to-day lives. Today, we're going to talk about college football and high school. Well, I can't say college football. I say college athletics and high school athletics with this new thing called the name, image, and likeness, abbreviated NIL. Yeah, it's happening with sports nowadays for student athletes. They're going to get paid. It's been a long time coming. We're not going to get paid. They're getting paid. And they're getting paid nicely, which makes me think about all the nice money athletics have made off these athletes for years. Now, what's interesting is, and I want to bring not caution, but also want to bring insight to some people around who might be sort of bucking against athletes getting paid. Why are you? Why are you bucking? You think about it. Athletes go out there and put all that time into their craft, into their ability to get better individually and as a team. And for all the years athletes did not receive anything, I can't recall one event of an income producing sport where it was free to get in. Now, you might say some of those costs went to help improve facilities. Those costs went to pay for the event and so on and so forth. And you get that. You're not wrong. You're not wrong with that. But there were a lot of profits made after fees were paid to host the events. I mean, the amount of money made in football, basketball, some schools with sports are more popular than others, like swimming. Oh, my goodness. It goes on. Volleyball. Oh, man. You never know lacrosse where these schools are making income, high school and college. No matter how big or how small, income is being made. And where's that money going? Yeah, the athletes get gear sometimes. Most of the times in high school, you got to turn it back in. They get some shoes to perform their sport. Sometimes you have to turn that back in. You know, when I was in high school, of course, you turn your helmet and your shoulder pads in playing football. You were able to keep your basketball shoes if they last the entire season. My toe was coming through mine, and we had leather shoes back then. And a lot of my other teammates, we couldn't afford to get new shoes, but we were expected to play and have new legs every time we played a basketball game. We had to turn our track shoes back in during after track season, and they got reconditioned. Yeah, reconditioned. But now, those funds that were made back then and are being made now are being distributed to the athletes performing the sports. And I think it's right. I think it's right, especially on the collegiate level. Now, you have some high schools where, they have privatized situations where they're able to give scholarships to certain athletes that went on back in the day. And they have some have big support in their alumni, and they are starting to pay athletes, and athletes have different NIL situations with different type of athletic brands, and they're happening for the kids in high school now, and local businesses are starting to work with the kids in high school. When you get to college, especially in colleges in the Big Five conferences. You're talking tens of hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars being made on these athletes that in a lot of cases risk their lives every time they step on the court or the field. Now, some are getting paid handsomely. I applaud it because they wouldn't pay them. They wasn't worth it. Or if they didn't have that type of interest in that particular athlete. I remember a time playing football and being privileged to play in the SEC. I had teammates who would get calls the night before a game from their parents and their families where they live, and the lights get cut off. And you see your teammate crying. And we got a game to play the next day. There's nothing they can do. And when you leave home from certain situations and you come to a Power 5 conference, especially an awesome conference like the SEC, you looked up to, and it just thinks people get that impression that, you have some resources. We all played broke to the point where $5, you had a lot of money. You help your teammates get something to eat at night when they're hungry. Because I can tell you right now, playing football and having hungry teammates weighing over 300 pounds, you don't want that. A guy like me, they might eat. But no, I'm saying all this because these are pains that, people that play certain sports go through that fans had no idea what's happening. You get a call from a family member and they need something and you just don't have it. And then because of the rules of the NCAA, you couldn't work. But we're student athletes, but students can work during the school year, but student athletes cannot work during the school year. Student athlete. Students can sell things during the school year, but student athletes cannot sell a thing because you'll lose your eligibility and sometimes get kicked off the team. Now, those are things that were going on in the athletic world, female athletic world and the male athletic world daily that fans had no idea was happening. Coaches knew because you had some coaches that played and knew a few things, but fans had no idea about it. Now you have this NIL space. Athletes are getting compensated for the amount of money they produce for the sport that they play. And there's some, resistance from fans about, it's going to change the game. It's not the same. No, it's not the same. Things change. And this change is for the better. Break it down. How many of you guys that are fans go to work to read a book? Well, it could be argued that's what was happening when prior to NIL, student athletes were given a scholarship. Then told they had to keep a certain GPA in order to play. Well, I'm not a proponent of this, but how many people really care about a GPA when it's game day? Well, let's talk about that GPA. You have the pressures of performing your sport, the pressures of making sure you maintain a GPA to order to perform your sport, the pressures of going to practice, the pressures of putting the extra work in, the pressures of going to class, the pressures of dealing with hard coaching because you're playing at an elite level. And then you have the pressure of your family having a situation that impacts their way of life, and you can't help them. But yeah, you're expected to perform at a high level in that sport. See, the one thing I like about what's going on now, and I'm so glad to say that the University of Tennessee, my university, has blazed the trail of getting into more of what we call the student athlete lifestyle. Have a hired staff to actually have people who've been through some of the things the student athletes are going through to be able to talk through different things that might alleviate that stress from their mind so they can perform at a high level when they take the court and when they take the field. See, these are things that, fans who are so passionate about their university or they're passionate about the team that they support, you don't think about. Because game day is game day. Tailgate, cheer, ah. But the athlete, is still a person. How about that? I mean, it amazes me how I hear, now that I've been outside the sport for some time, I've been able to actually engage with fans in an intense environment and, how they talk about the student athletes and professional athletes when I've gone to professional games, how they talk when they make a mistake. Or, have a bad play, have a moment that's not what you think they should be doing. There's no one, and I repeat, there's no one more disappointed in that moment than that athlete and coach who put hours and hours upon of work into making sure that every moment goes the way they wanted to go. But yet, some of the things that come out of some people's mouths when something doesn't go the way they wanted to go, and they're just fans. Not just fans. I don't want to minimize it, but you're watching and you're cheering and you're hoping for the best for your team, and then you realize or don't realize, I know I do, that everyone on the field has a first and last name, and neither one of their names that anyone has in that field is first name Jesus, last name Christ. So therefore, we've determined that there's not even a rumor about anybody on that field being perfect. But yet, when the humanistic side shows itself on during a game, a match, fans get real emotional and they make statements that are just, dehumanizing of an athlete. Just because they might be able to buy themselves a hamburger now when they're hungry on Sunday nights. Or because, you're doing something on your cell phone with different apps. And I'm talking about all this convenient betting going on at games and matches now. And you think you have the right to say that about a person? Because I'm certain, well, I can't say I'm certain, but I will say 98.7 of the people who say what they say about the athlete that they're cheering on, when the athlete makes a humanistic situation human, again, not perfect or the way they want it to go, what you say at that moment, 98.7% of the people will not say it to the athlete's face if they saw him in person. So, Sterl, what are you saying? What are you saying? What I'm saying is, the unfortunate reality is that as I've been able to engage with fans on a more personal basis since I stopped playing, I see that fans unfortunately expect more out of the teams they support and the athletes on that team than they sometimes expected themselves. I'm going to say that again. Fans have a propensity to expect more out of the team they support and the athletes and coaches on that team than they expect of themselves. I know everyone makes mistakes. But because you make your mistake at your own company or at a company that you work for, you got time to correct it before someone finds out. I've said this for 20 years at least. The first reality show on television was the first time a sporting event was telecast. Now you got reality shows of, housewives of this and doctors of that, and it's all entertainment. And they even get an opportunity to set the scene and set up cameras and do all that. Once the cameras are set up and that game whistle blows or that match whistle blows, you can't yell cut. You might be able to put some up for review now in some situations in football and basketball and, some things to review to make sure the refs make the right call in some situations, the things that are reviewable. But you can't yell cut. You can't like you didn't see it. Follow what I'm saying? The reality of athletics is it generates a lot of interest. People are passionate about it. And a lot of money is made for profit of athletics and athletes. And now, not just in the pro ranks, the collegiate ranks, in a lot of situations now, the high school ranks, athletes are getting paid because their name, image, and likeness. I mean, for those that are non-athletes that are watching this podcast, if XYZ company came to you and wanted to use you for an ad or something, I'm sure you wouldn't do it for free. And if you did do it for free, that'll be a blessing to the company, but you'll leave a lot of money on the table. Or, I don't know what you call a lot. $5 is a lot of money to me, but you'll leave money on the table. So now here's an opportunity for athletes to make money off their jerseys, to make money off their name, image, and likeness, to make money off the hard work that they put in. And if you break that down per hour, I don't care how much money they make, they're definitely beneath or at minimum wage for the amount of money they put in time to their craft, the amount of time they put in their craft and their athleticism to get better. If you break it down per hour, is that minimum wage or lower? If you don't see that, you expect it just what you're supposed to do. But the term student athlete still exists. It existed some time ago prior to NIL when, again, like I said earlier, athletes could not make any money at all during the school year. But other students could get a job. They can sell, but raise money because they tutored other students. I tell you right now, when I played, if I could tutor a student and make $4 an hour and coordinate to carve out my schedule to have 4 hours a week to tutor, that was a lot of money for me when I played. Because guys didn't have it. Athletes can relate to me on this statement I'm about to make, and maybe it'll enlighten some of the fans that are watching this podcast. After a game, your family comes to visit you, and everybody's family in the lobby back when we had athletic dorms, and everybody's meeting everybody's families, brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers, and cousins, and that's how we did it back then, And so maybe sit on the couches, and everybody's, be 100, 150 people in the lobby, and you're just having a good time celebrating the win or just, fellowshipping and enjoying yourselves and meeting your teammates' families. But around midnight, you see all the athletes run downstairs to the lobby and pull back couch cushions, hoping people drop change in the couch. You say, oh, get out of it. You ask an athlete that played high-level athletics in college back prior to NIL, definitely in the 1900s when I played. That's what we did. Finding $2, $3 in quarters and dimes that slipped out of some people's pockets. Enabled us to eat on Sunday night when most athletic scholarship athletes at most universities did not get fed past 4 o'clock on Sunday. Didn't get fed. And if you do a case study, I'm certain a lot of people watching this podcast will be amazed at the amount of athletes that may have had a transgression Sunday night. One thing about human nature, we get hungry. You're gonna want to eat. I'm gonna leave that right there. But I can tell you how many times after a game, when the families leave, you'll see 30, 40 student athletes on various teams, not just the football team, basketball team. That's why they like basketball. They had more games than we did, more family meetings in the lobby. And when they leave, a lot of them went with their families, same as football players. You go with your families to go eat, and after you get together, you're just scrounging and you're going to them couch cushions to get some change. See, these are the real things that a lot of people that support teams and athletes didn't know. It was also prior to social media, too. Because right now, you see some athletes digging up in the couch cushions. They probably get there, they're going to film it, and that thing will go viral. That thing will go crazy viral right there. But times have changed. And we have to change with the times. And I'm glad that things are changing for the better for the athlete that's putting his pride, passion, and abilities on the line every time he or she steps on that court, on that field. And now they can get compensated. Something. Now, some athletes get more than others. It's part of it. People get something. I mean, the situations now when you got walk-ons on teams getting their school paid for, man. Think about it. I know a guy who played with me. I won't mention his name because I didn't ask him, could I? But he would be at practice. That's when we had 2-a-day practices during the summer. Now I know the game has gotten a lot safer and they've gotten a lot more into the health of the athletes. So in football, you don't have 2 practices a day during camp in most situations. But now, back then when I played, we had minimum 2 practices during summer camp a day, morning and afternoon. Hot. The whole 9, you understand. I got summer in Tennessee, and summer basically in the United States is hot. Some places hotter than others, but it's hot. But I'm saying this because I had a teammate of mine who was the head of his family, the oldest son, and he had 7 siblings underneath him. He was my age at the time, and he would have to go feed the animals on the farm, milk the cows, process the milk in the processor. I didn't know this. Again, I'm a city guy. I didn't know all this stuff. I don't know how to work a farm. Give me a tomato and I'm good, But he would actually do all that work, then come to morning practice, leave morning practice, when most of us will go to the training room, get treated, and go to our room and get some sleep before the afternoon practice. He'll go back to the farm, get all the milk that was processed from the cows, feed the other livestock on the farm, make sure the cows got fed with their hay, then come back to practice for the afternoon every day. And he was a walk-on. Now you got situations where walk-ons are getting their school paid for. Maybe they're getting a little bit of NIL. Because if his story ever goes public, and I won't steal his thunder, this is a guy who played wide receiver back when University of Tennessee was known as wide receiver U. First round draft choices in the same room with him, and gave it all he had every day. Went up against first and second round draft choices at defensive back every day. And we didn't know he was doing that every day until our senior year. So he had done that for 5 years. I was redshirted as a freshman. We didn't know. See what I'm saying? That's the love that you'll find 98.7% of the athletes playing on their teams in their sport have for what they do. That, is open in a reality show, whatever game or match that is, in front of all you fans who love and support the team and the athletes every time they take the court of the field. Then when something happens, you let I can't say everyone, but too many people let their emotions get the best of them about what happened to that athlete or that team and the coaching staff. A lot of work goes into it. A lot of work, a lot of pride, a lot of dedication. And now the NIL space is open, and fortunately, athletes are getting compensated for the good that they do for their team, their sport, and the good they do for themselves and their family. No sport or team is considered heavy without a strong support system, which are the fans. You fans mean the world to every sport and every team you support. All I ask is that you don't dehumanize the athlete. Those are human beings behind those numbers and names and faces and working hard to make you happy, to give you that outlet. Athletes shouldn't wake up to being tweeted to a death threat. Athletes shouldn't wake up to having their mother and father and parents talked about in ways that put it this way, if they acted on those tweets and instant messages and statements, not certain they would be in population. They'll be put away somewhere, locked away. It hurts when I hear these things. And just think about the athlete that you're making that unfortunate and very bad statement about in an unfortunate moment. You think about the work that they had put in to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not laughing at it. I'm just emotional about it. They don't deserve that. Good or bad, whatever play is made, there's nothing you can do to change it. All you do is learn from it. I always tell people, I never played a game that I lost in anything. Never played a game that I lost, but I'm not undefeated. Never played a game that I lost, but I'm not undefeated. May run out of time. Now you might say, well, time waits for no one. I get all the, do it for the Gipper. Yeah, I get it. But again, these athletic events are reality shows, so we have to get some reality back to what we're doing here. Okay? Don't mislead yourself by being overzealous about a moment that didn't go your way. I mean, think about what you ask on the athletes. They're in the fight. They're in the deal. They're passionate. They're intense. They are actually feeling because they want to win, and the other people they're playing against want to win too. And they go to practice, and so and they want to do what they do, and you want to have a moment, and then something happens that doesn't go your way, and sometimes it's off a call by a referee, but you expect that athlete to remain cool, because if the athlete doesn't remain cool, he does something selfishly or she does something selfishly in that unfortunate moment, it hurts the team with a penalty. Or maybe they have a situation where they get kicked out the game. They wouldn't be playing if they weren't able to play or wasn't the best on the team to be playing in that situation. Now someone else had to step up. Yeah, next man up. I get it. But it's the reason why people start and the reason why people back up. I'm going to leave that right there. So imagine if flags started getting thrown on some fans. Think about that. How many times some of you guys watching this podcast would have had a flag thrown on you, but you expected the athlete representing the team that you support to be cool? Or you get mad at the athlete for acting like you did in a situation during that contest game on the court or field. And you got a job to go back home to. And they go back to their dorm room or to their apartment and have to deal with the transgression in a whole different way. Then they hurt people that they love because they did something that was selfish to hurt the team and could have cost them the game or the match. All I'm asking is those out there bucking the NIL thing that is happening to athletes in high school and on the collegiate level. Understand what these athletes go through. And if somebody thinks they deserve a lot of money, like I said, more than $5 is a lot of money to me. Somebody believes they deserve a lot of money. Don't talk about how it's changing the game, because the game has to change. Men and women, it has to change. We're no longer on the phone dialing a number on the rotary phone. I got a phone that makes me smart. We're no longer listening to music on 8-track and cassette tapes. I can stream it to my phone. That makes me smart. There was a time in football when there were hits that were put on players. The stands would go crazy off that hit. And we were told to get up as long as we can walk. Now that same hit in football, okay, could get the person that made the hit kicked out the game, put the person that took the hit in concussion protocol. Now you got two people who can't play the next play or the next game. In basketball, there was a time when things were just a hard foul. You came down that lane, and I'm not going to mention a couple of teams and, those that are historians of the game, you know what I'm saying? You came down that lane, and you was not going to make a layup without getting touched. And a lot of those touches were intense. I'll leave it at that. It was just a hard foul. Go to the line and shoot 2 foul shots. Now in basketball, you got a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2. A lot of those fouls were just hard fouls. Nobody got kicked out of the game. A flagrant 2, you're kicked out of the game and fined. You following me? So times have changed. They've changed. They changed to make it safer for the athlete. They changed to make it a more engaging game for the fan. And it's a beautiful thing that athletes not on the professional level are starting to get compensated. Don't buck at that. Applaud it, embrace it. I believe it's here to stay. I believe it will get better over time for everybody involved in the process, schools, athletes, and governing boards alike. And yeah, for those that have made the statement to me, college athletics and high school athletics will never be the same. Well, they shouldn't be. They just shouldn't be. Things are changing for the better, I believe. They are changing for the better. And they will get better changing for the better. Not at the best yet. They will get better changing for the better. Embrace it and be more considerate of the team, coaches, and athletes you support. Just be more considerate of them. They're humans. We all are. And be passionate. Love the passion. Love the noise. Bring the noise. You know, create that home field advantage for your team. Create that environment in your house when you're watching the games and the matches for people that are enjoying it with you, your families and yourself, and you might have watch parties and all over the world and in different venues. Be passionate about it, but when it's over, let it be over. Just like the athletes do at the end of the game, they shake hands. It's a particular team. Every time the University of Tennessee plays them, this might be an oxymoron, but I respectfully hate this team. And for those hours the game is on, I'm screaming for Tennessee like no other, wishing I could play, knowing I can't. I wish I could. I wish. But when the game is over, I'll high five that team, win or lose. I got friends that played on that team and played against me. We're friends until that day. But we're friends again. When it's over, it's over. Don't carry this stuff with you. Because all you can do is learn from what already happened to make something better happen the next time in the future. Can't change the past. But you can definitely make your future brighter. My name is Sterl the Pearl. We went in on the go in. Until the next time, my party people, and on my podcasters, you let that peace sign be your shrine. So until then, my friends, y'all get them up and y'all keep them up. 2 fingers. That's it, baby. Yes, sir.